Testi.
Testataan.
Testi.
Testataan.
Testataan.
Welcome to the third annual Comic Strip World Championship competition award ceremony. I'm your host, Sami Nyyssölä, and we are honored by the presence of ski jumper Raeisaene. Welcome.
Eikö me voitais pitää tää suomeksi?
Emme, kun tää on kansainvälinen lähetys. Englanniksi pitää.
Thank you very many that I'm here now.
We're glad to have you,
Thank you.
Mr. Raeisaene. So you are very much enthusiastic about the Comic Strip Championship competition.
Yes, I'm a former ski jumper, but nowadays I changed my career to Comic Strip World Championships.
I see, so the ski jumping championship just didn't do it for you.
Yes,
It wasn't extreme enough.
yes,
You had to move on to comics.
absolutely.
Do you miss the sensation of flying while ski jumping, or do you feel that you fly better with comics?
Yes, I think so. In this year, I don't send my strip to the championships.
You didn't enter the competition this
No,
year?
because all my strips are autobiographical, and my ideas are absolutely running out.
I see.
But I self-published a book. There's 350 pages, autobiographical ski jumping comics.
That's impressive. So this is self-published strips about your own life.
Yes, and I don't use text words in my comics. I use only numbers in my comics.
Only numbers.
Yes.
So what numbers do you use?
Because I'm a ski jumper.
Right.
Those are how long I ski jump. The
Right.
numbers, the
Yes.
meters.
The meters of your jumps, the
Yes.
distance. Do you write the records, how much points the judges award you, or?
Yes, also those I sometimes use.
Right, and you have numbers on your shirts or your costumes as well when you jump.
Sometimes.
Lots of numbers in ski jumping,
Yes.
which you can.
I love comic strips more than ski jumping.
Yes, but well, so we're really happy to have you here with us, Mr. Raeisaene.
Thank you.
Do you have any good wishes to our competition participants and all the good people following the show?
Yes. Welcome everybody to this event. And this is the best place I have been. Before, the best place was Oberstdorf and Garmisch-Partenkirchen.
So from Oberstdorf to Rovaniemi, where we are tonight at the Rovaniemi City Library.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I look forward to seeing your strips next year when you participate.
Of course.
I hope you have a safe trip home on your skis. Thank you, Raeisaene. And we'll move on with the programming. We have many esteemed guests here on the show floor with us tonight. And first of all, before we move on to the actual competition entries and announcing the winners, of course, which is the main event, I would like to invite journalist and comics enthusiast Ville Hänninen to talk about Comics.
Hello Oulu, Eikun.
Hello, Ville Hänninen.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you again.
Nice to meet
We
you.
were just visiting Santa Claus Land
Oh,
today, and it was amazing.
You haven't been to the Santa Claus office before?
No. I don't remember when was the last time that I saw Santa Claus.
Yeah. So he doesn't visit your house,
No.
but you visited his.
At the moment, I think so.
Yes. So you have a very storied career with comics, related to comics. I introduced you as a journalist and comics enthusiast. Was that accurate, or how would you phrase it?
Not really, because I'm middle-aged man, and I'm not that enthusiastic about anything anymore. But I have been reading shitloads of comics in my life and writing about them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Books and critique, and also having lectures and curating exhibitions. So from that perspective, I do fan comics a bit.
So I should have led with journalist and comics middle-aged man.
Thank you. I regret having said anything at all.
Okay.
I love comics.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a pleasure talking with you about comics as always. So, what kind of So you've seen the Finnish comic scene for quite a while, firsthand.
Yeah, well, I suppose I haven't been drawing comics myself.
Right.
I've only been writing about them since the 90s, and well, a lot has happened since then, of course.
Yes.
A lot of festivals have died, and some have been born as well.
Yeah. What kind of do you miss some of the festivals that you've been? What is the best one? What's your favorite?
My favorite is Helsinki Comics Festival from about 95 to about 2012. And those are not the years that I was young, and those are not the years that I was working with them, but they were the years when the festival was at its most international.
Right.
There were quite good guests, and some years they had interesting themes. I really felt that I learned a lot. Like when they had like good theme countries in the 90s, Swiss comics, when they were at their hottest, very good theme, very interesting guests. Canadian year with Joe Matt and Chester Brown and Seth. Great triangle of people, excellent party that year. Those years I miss, but of course every festival has its own advantages. Like Kemi was small enough to have really fun, and also people were so far from everything that we really could talk about anything.
Right.
Comics also, but about anything. And so these kind of retreats are good.
Right. That's also a beautiful thing about comics, is that they can feel like a retreat. Yes.
Absolutely.
If I remember correct, even Neil Gaiman paid a visit to Kemi.
Yeah, maybe some year. He's been in Finland a lot.
Yes.
I think I first saw him in Jyväskylän Kesä in 90s. And that was really interesting because he was in the literature house of the writers in the next to University of Jyväskylä, being very nice and charismatic man, and really he was very big then already, but
in fame, not as a person.
Well, big in fame, yes, but there was no lines in front of him then. Few years after that, in Helsinki Festival, the signing line was hundreds of meters That's how I remember it. It was hundreds meters.
Wow. So, but you've seen many festivals come and go, and so can you share us what makes a good festival?
Atmosphere and the planning of the program. The latter one is rather important. Surprises, really some focus on art, longer discussions. That's what I would miss in Finnish festivals. I would really love artists to talk for a long time. I think most of the interviews at the moment are too short, maybe 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and it's okay. But if you have a longer career, then you really would benefit from having longer interview. That would cover whole career, and you could also really talk about the aesthetics.
Right, get into the person and the views.
Well, person as well, and but also how is it to make art, and what is it like really to talk about art.
Yeah, to get deeper than the surface level.
Yeah.
Yes. As for myself as well, I appreciate the intimacy of some smaller festivals where you can really just sit down and talk. Yeah.
Like this. Yes.
Yes. Like we have tonight. And so, have you been to many international comics festivals abroad?
I go to Angoulême annually. It's I think it's the biggest festival in Europe.
So what years was Angoulême good?
All of those, because I can see my friends and colleagues, and we can talk. Never mind the festival, but it's just meeting people. It's always amazing. But when talking about content a little bit, there are every year really huge exhibitions, and some of them are very good. Like last 5 years they have annually had very interesting big exhibitions of Japanese comics, like certain artists, concentrating on certain artists, very well curated ones. That's something I miss. I know we don't have money to produce such
big productions.
Big productions, but one wishes. Sometimes we do. In 2000, when Helsinki was culture capital city, there was a quite big comics exhibition in Atheneum. 10 years ago, I was curating with my colleague Harri Römpötti and Arja Miller an exhibition on contemporary comics in Kiasma, and that was big one as well, and it was really interesting to be concentrating on such amount of works, but otherwise I wish there would have been more, and also I wish there would be more like really interesting exhibitions, because there would be a lot of opportunities for showing comics in space. Everything has not been seen yet. Most of the exhibitions are just originals in the wall, very boring.
Yes, yeah, and that makes me think that there's many levels to appreciating comics. Doing comics and reading comics, it can be quite solitary, but of course amazing. But then there's the social aspect of gathering for festivals, which is a huge part of comics hobby and appreciation, I think. And then there's the exhibitions, which can take it to another level in some sense, in artistically.
Yes, but both are very important. But then again, personally, I feel that comics really are for myself. I read them when I want or need to, and it's really solitary, and I love it.
Yeah, that's well put.
So of course I love the social aspect as well, but that's not really the main point. Literature, comics, and some other art forms are really strong because you can do it at your own pace.
Yes, that's a really simple notion, but it's at the heart of it, I think.
I think so.
Yes. Yes. But you've seen comics culture from many perspectives. Yes. Well, I was going to ask, what would you say is the relationship with that Finland has with comics, briefly?
Finland as a country,
Yes.
Finnish people,
Yes.
relationship, weakening. We used to be huge country where everybody loved Donald Duck, and that's pretty much it. Now less and less people actually love Donald Duck or read it.
So Donald Duck is the benchmark.
Well, it's one benchmark if we talk about big audience, and
Right,
also
right.
if we talk about the same people. Some years ago, we had quite many popular and new newspaper comic strips. Where are those nowadays? We still have Fingerpori and Vivian Wagner, of course, but new ones we don't get those that really. Market is kind of saturated.
Yes, that's a.
So when talking about newspaper strips, but of course there are opportunities in the internet, for instance.
Those are like really interesting points to think about the where is comics headed. That really makes me think about that. But to share from the Finnish point of view on comics, we can expand also to the Portuguese situation with comics. I would like to invite Joana Mosi to join us here on stage. Thank you. From Portugal.
Is it here?
Yeah, thanks. So, welcome, Joana. Yes, this the furniture here is designed by Alvar Aalto, so please be gentle.
Is it really?
I like it already.
Yeah.
Hi.
So you are the resident artist at Liminka School of Arts currently.
Yes.
A comics artist from Portugal.
Yes, it's true.
Yes.
I am. Sunny country.
But you were also the a judge on this competition, one of the 5 judges.
Yes.
And yes, I will just kick you off on a conversation
Okay.
about comics with Ville. So, Joana, how would you describe the situation that Portugal has with comics?
It feels like a political question.
Yes.
Describe the situation right now. I don't know. I don't know if I'm like the. I know I'm the only Portuguese person in this room, but I don't know if I'm the correct person to ask that question. I've been doing comics for a while now, but I'm part of a quite younger generation of comic artists. Recently, there was published like last month, I think, a Kuti magazine, and it only features Portuguese artists. If you really want to know what's going on, I think it's a quite good selection. And in the beginning, there's a text by Pedro Moura. He's a comics theorist in Portugal. He knows everything about comics, but mostly Portuguese comics. And he wrote like this very good brief text about what it's like not only to make comics in Portugal, but what they look like and what kind of comics we do. We don't have a comics tradition, at least I can tell you that. We don't, and we don't love Donald Duck, by the way. It's not our thing.
Yes.
But we love Franco-Belgian comics, and like the older generations, people at the age of my parents and grandparents still look up to the Franco-Belgian comics as the only thing that exists. The Gen X usually prefer like DC comics, Marvel comics, and millennials like me, I'm like a late millennial. I was a teenager when the manga and anime became a huge thing again, so you can guess what that means.
that kind of sounds like some of the sounds similar to the situation in Finland,
Yeah,
the generational
we're
aspect of
cousins.
it. Yeah, but that was in a nutshell. If I paraphrase you, if you want to get to know Portuguese comics, you should read Portuguese comics.
It's the best way because there's like no style, there's like no specific way to describe it. But I can tell you, like in the last few years, at least the years that I've been working on comics, I've been noticing like a lot of new people coming up, especially through the zine fairs and self-publishing industry, because it's a small country, and since we don't have that culture of comics, it's impossible. We can say that it's impossible to make a living out of it. So it's not really profitable to work with the publishers, and so a lot of people found their way through self-publishing because it's very easy nowadays. And when I talk about self-publishing, not only in the printing format, but also online through, webcomics and Instagram and who knows, maybe TikTok. I don't know what Gen Z are doing these days. So.
Yeah, but I'm gonna hand it over to Ville and Joana, and I'll see you soon.
Stay there for a while.
I stay. I can enjoy the
Don't
chair.
escape.
No.
Not yet.
Oh dear.
And don't escape Finland. You're at the moment, like you said, you're resident in Liminka.
Yes.
Yeah, are you living in the school of Liminka actually, or nearby?
Yes.
Or? Yes. How is it?
It's great. It's very different from the sunny country Portugal where I come from. I feel like a hobbit most of the time. Like, you know that part in the Lord of the Rings where the hobbits arrive to Rivendell and they are just like this all the time? That's me. And but with snow. I'm in love with the snow, and it's very different, especially when it comes to the sun hours. I can feel the difference physically. Is this the kind of answer that you were looking for? I don't think so.
I'm just listening to your emotions
Yes.
about Finland and trying to interpret if it means that it has affected your work or
So much.
not. So much. In which way?
Because most of my work, I wouldn't say it's autobiographical, but I really like to. How do I put this? I use comics as a way of thinking in first place. So I publish comics, but I also draw comics for myself, like in a private way. I use them to process reality, and I like to travel to different places. And this past year, I've been traveling in many other countries, and I like it because it makes me very anxious and uncomfortable. And it's when I'm anxious and uncomfortable that I feel like drawing, when I don't know what I'm doing. And this is a very different setting from the Portuguese reality that I know, in every way. Because I was thinking, it's still Europe, so we're kind of it's not alike. It's completely different, and that's why it's so marvelous. I love the novelty of everything. We were in the Santa Claus village today. You saw me playing in the snow. It's the kind of thing that I come from, and that, of course, affects my work, because my work it's me. So I'm growing. I think.
You said that you use comics as a way of thinking.
It is.
Can
of
you
course.
be more precise in which way?
Well, I use comics, but for example, a musician might use music, or a painter paints. I think when we are creating or we are producing work, we are trying to somehow make sense of the reality around us. Is a way of, at least for me, that's very close. Today I know why I like comics. When I was 15, I thought I liked comics because I like to read comics and I felt connected to the characters, or I wanted to tell stories, or I liked to draw. Nowadays I know it's a little bit more than that, because I know myself better as well, and I like the idea of arranging elements in a page. It gives me peace of mind, because we're human beings. We have this need of telling stories because we're completely all the time looking for sense in things. We're looking at ways to organize things around us and to say that something is a consequence of something else. I enjoy comics, of course, but I know in a deeper sense I need to draw these comics about stuff because it's my way of making reality something that is understandable.
What kind of story have you been working on?
So last year I finished a book that is gonna be published next year by this Canadian publisher called Pow Pow. and but right now I'm working on a new one, and I'm still in the part of the process that I really enjoy, which is the writing part. I like the writing part very much, and it's gonna be published by Penguin,
Okay.
the Portuguese one.
Okay.
Yeah, Penguin, the Portuguese one.
Interesting.
Yes, and so most of my comics, I don't really know how to describe them, but I heard other people doing it, and I think they do it well. One of these people just said, "I make comics about people that cannot communicate with each other," and yes, that's the best way I can describe things.
A lot of good art is actually about the problem of communication.
I think it's because we don't know how to do it, so we make
Yeah.
stories about it. It's just easier. Instead of just going to people and say things on their face, we make comics about the emotions we feel with them, and then we hope that they understand. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and that's how we do it.
What are your ways of expressing not communicating, not being able to communicate in comics form?
It's a lot of observational work, I think. I don't.
Observation.
Yes.
Observing what exactly?
Yes. People around me mostly. I'm very curious about people. I think most of us are. Most of us, I mean, like creators, writers, directors. I studied film in school because I have a bachelor in fine arts, but later I studied. My master's is actually in film, and most of our classes were trying to figure out the body language of the characters and the actors, and I find it very interesting for me. It's the way we have to communicate things without using words. We can communicate a lot of things just by the way we put ourselves in the room. I mean, right now I'm crossing my legs and I'm trying to look relaxed, but probably I would be a completely different person, or you would perceive me in a completely different way if I just came here and sit like this, and I would be talking to you like this. I would be saying the same things, but now it just looks completely different. It's like I'm not respecting you whatsoever, or probably I'm way too comfortable right now. So it's the kind of these little things that I enjoy when I'm writing characters or writing stories. Like, how can I give ideas and information about something without being direct? That makes people confused. I like that feeling because it forces people to read the book more times as well.
In your eyes, you mentioned that you studied fine art. Yeah,
Yes.
what separates comics, narrative form, from making fine art?
I think it's everything. But
Bit more precisely.
but I don't know. I think it's a very personal question because at least in Portugal, most people that do comics, they come from the fine arts background because there's no comics degree in Portugal. Or I mean, now people are working on that. But when I started studying, when I went to college, there was no comics degree. I didn't want to do it anyway. I went to fine arts because I thought it would give me the right tools to become a better artist, whatever that meant at the time. And I thought it would be easy. It isn't. At least by the time I was studying fine arts, there was like this clear line between what's high art and what's low art. And comics are in the low art part, like tapestry is as well, and ceramics. And in high arts, it's like specific kind of painting, but mostly like installation, contemporary art, and performance, and things that are supposed to look in a certain way. And it wrongly shapes us to believe that things are not connected, and I don't really believe that nowadays. I think my work started to make more sense, or at least became more interesting for me, at least when I started to kind of blur those barriers. And since I started to, I also studied film and later philosophy. It gives me a different insights of how I can think about comics as well. And you see that in all types of comic artists that come from very different backgrounds, even from performative arts, or mostly from backgrounds that are not related to arts whatsoever. Those people sometimes have a way more fresh insight than people like me that have read comics all their lives. So what I do is also a consequence of all the comics that I've read since I was a kid and the artists that I admire. So it's a little bit more shaped, a little bit more into a format than people that come with a fresh view on things. So I think we should be working on breaking those barriers.
one of the reasons I asked this was that at least I have noticed that a lot of people working at fine arts don't really know how to read or interpret
They don't
comics.
want
They don't understand the concept of flow or rhythm.
to.
They are really not used to it. They just look at separate images, and well, of course they look crap because they are not supposed to be highly nuanced fine art works. They are supposed to be part of the narrative.
That's what I like about comics actually, is the fact that it's more than telling a story. For me, it's a work on composition. It's all about placing things. For me, it's like solving a puzzle, making a comic. But I think the problem with fine arts and comics is a little bit, for me, more serious than that. In my point of view, and it has been happening in Portugal many times, which is now the fine arts community is starting to like comics because there are more comics appearing that don't look like comics. So they like comics that look super fancy and intellectual. And even when I started to make comics that are a little bit more conceptual, people tend to like them more because they don't look like comics. And I think that's dangerous. I mean, they started to make these comics degrees and everything, and we're going to teach the real comics. So we're just going to talk about something that is completely specific and super artsy, and forget that Tintin exists or Asterix exists. They also part of comics as well, and they should be analyzed as well. It's where we come from too. I mean, I read Tintin and Asterix during all my childhood. If I think it's the best thing in the world, probably not, but I also owe them something. They're part of the history of comics as well. They took their part. And I think it's very dangerous when we think like we can only like comics when they don't look like comics and when they look like something else. It's just like me with coffee. I know I don't like coffee because I need it to taste like something else. Like a lot of chocolate and sugar and milk and whatever. So I know I'm not a coffee person. I'm not going to pretend that. If I really want to drink coffee, I should know what it tastes like. And it also tastes like black coffee. It's a huge metaphor. I'm really sorry for this.
In Finland, we talk a lot about coffee and drink a
Sorry.
lot of coffee. And
I didn't want to
I
offend
really don't know how
the
to.
coffee culture.
After this, I don't know what to say. But I'll try to ask. Well, you mentioned the fresh take on comics.
Yeah.
Do you have an example of fresh take in Portuguese comics?
Yes. I mean, I'm not a fresh take for sure, but I have a lot of friends that come from like another kind of background. They didn't study fine arts, they didn't study anything related to arts or even writing whatsoever, and they started making comics just by the fact that they liked comics. They saw that people were printing their own comics, so I'm gonna do it as well, and that's exactly what they should be doing. And so they bring out something that for us it wouldn't pop in our minds. For example, there's a friend of mine called Ricardo Batista. I know he's a doctor. That's pretty much what I know about his day job thing, and he's making these comics that he created his own style like in 2 years. I mean, I've been doing this almost for 10 years, and he created something completely on his own in such a short time. He's already making like a very impressive work, and it's so well built, it's so well drawn, and it just appeared. I'm very jealous of him. If he ever sees this video, it's going to be very mortifying though.
Thank you. That sounds something that I might be really enthusiastic
I can show
about.
I can show you his work afterwards, yeah. But like
Great.
him, there's like many people doing the same because, once again, it's a country without really the tradition of comics. So people come from everywhere.
Actually, pretty much the same in Finland. I mean, I know that some minutes ago I talked about Donald Duck and shit, but that's just one perspective of it. Another one is that we have dozens of very interesting artists that have quite different backgrounds, and some of them have read lots of comics whole their lives, some don't, and because we don't have a strong commercial system in here.
Same.
Well, then it means that if you draw comics, you really have to love it.
Exactly.
You really have to have your own motives, own agenda, whatever.
Yeah, and
I think it shows
and time
good,
as well.
good way in Finnish comics. Well, that's
Yeah.
time is money, so that's another question. But,
Yeah.
basically, there are a lot of original comics in Finland.
Yeah.
That's the good part of it.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I'm very surprised. I mean, we have a comic scene in Portugal. It's true. We have, at least in Lisbon, we have 3 comic book stores, like just for comics. But you go there, and it's not the same as here in Finland. You go there, and you have comics in every kind of language, mostly in French and English, and only like a shelf for Portuguese comics. Here is exactly the other way around. It's everything in Finnish, and you have a tiny shelf with English comics, which is amazing. It's like a high production of comics. I mean, this is
I really
the
wish
dream.
I really wish that we would have such comic stores in Finland.
Well, the
where
grass
you
is
could
always
have-
greener on the other side. So
yeah, I know. But it would be so. Well, like you said, that's true. I suppose next we are going to have something about the competition,
yes.
isn't it so? I suppose I will leave the stage to you.
Okay, thank you, Ville. That was a really interesting conversation about art, and let's give a big hand to Ville and Joana. Really made me want to read some more comics
Yes.
to appreciate the good points. But now we are moving on to the main event, the Comic Strip World Championship Competition Award Ceremony.
Yay.
So we had 5 judges who went through all the entries that the competents had shared on Instagram. And Joana, you were one of the judges. So just briefly on the top, how did you feel about the competition and the entries? The theme was bird comics.
First of all, I love birds, so it was a very good theme for me. Second, but mostly, I felt it was super diverse. I mean, there were all kinds of styles, of approaches. People went in a more funny and gag comic way. Other people were a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit more introspective. Other people were just drawing birds, which was also cool. Which made my job a little bit hard. I mean, I'm also a teacher, and so for me, it's something that I struggle with, which is like grading art. It's very hard because some things are hard to compare. I had a hard time. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I think that's the beauty of this competition, is that when you think of a comic strip, you think of a very specific thing, or at least you think of a specific thing. Yes, but then once you have dozens of entries from different people, you notice it's a very diverse set that you can create from this topic, or any topic in the strip format. I'm gonna go through the judges that we had. So the tradition is that all the judges are from different countries around the world, and so we have Joana Mosi again from Portugal. Sorry, I have a hard time pronouncing it.
It's a difficult country to say.
Yes. And the famous Mr. Lordi from Finland, from Rovaniemi. And actually, I mentioned to a friend of mine that Mr. Lordi will be judging this competition, and they asked me like, why is he judging a comics competition? Is he a character or is he a comic writer? He's actually both. And at their gigs and events, you can actually find some comics as well, or their lyrics in comics form, I think. And so really appreciate to have his way on the result. And we have Katarina Rakmavika from Indonesia. You can find her on Instagram, and some very influential comics about current topics, as far as I could read. We have the legendary Hunt Emerson from England. who you can find on largecowcomics.com, and he's in Finland. He's must be most well known from his comics on the Myrkky magazine, and so he's well known for his raunchy style. I suppose you could. Yeah, but yes, and so very happy to have this his eminent point of view. And finally, we have Mohammed Gajoum from Libya, who you can also find on Instagram, who does stunning artwork and caricatures that are very beautiful to look at. So, quite diverse judges as well as entries. And so, Joana, did you have some entries that stuck with you? Some that made you think or feel something?
Yes, but I don't remember the names. I just have the images in my mind. It was a while when I saw them the last time. It was almost like 2 months ago. So, but I remember the ones that stuck with me were like the ones that surprised me. Either it was in terms of style, which is like things that I'm usually not used to read, for example. So, but I wish I could say, but I don't remember the names.
Yeah, I read through the entries when you check the hashtag Bird Comics strip. You can find all the entries, and it was interesting to read through all of them
at once.
But it's a funny feeling that you get when you read lots of comic strips in one go.
Yes.
It kind of starts to feel surreal.
Yes.
But it's a fun time, though.
Yeah, and making comics in Instagram is like one of the cool things of nowadays, I think. So, because it was an accidental thing when Instagram made that gallery option where you can make a post with different images. It was amazing how many people started using that to make comics. It became like a phenomenon. It still is, you know?
Yes, and that's why I see lots of comics in square format.
Yes. I do it myself. I love it. I love the gallery function of Instagram. It's very addictive.
Yep, same here. Most of my Instagram is just comics.
Exactly. Likewise.
But shall we move on to the? Yes, let's move on to the winners of this competition. So on second place we have Mikko Kanninen.
Congrats.
Can we see the artwork?
Yes.
Oh, I remember this one.
Okay. Yeah, it's really detailed, and I remember this dancing bird from a meme. the second screen of this comic. Yeah, I believe the art style must have impressed the judges.
Yes. It reminds me a little bit of because the first thing that came to my mind when I thought that the comic strip theme was birds was that famous webcomic called False Knees about birds. Do you know it?
No.
It's a British comic, I think, and it's mostly this guy that draws comic strips with very realistic birds, but the dialogues and the stories are
I think I know it now.
yeah,
Yes,
very
yes.
Weird and awkward. Yes.
Yes. So congratulations to Mikko Kanninen. Amazing work. Let's give him an applause. And shall we move on to the winner of the third annual Comic Strip World Championship competition? And we have her here, Nina Teerilahti. Nina Mutik on Instagram. And you can find her artwork under her pen name, Nina Mutik.
Congrats.
Hi, thank you. And our pronouns are they and them. Not to be bitchy about it. But
No.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't notice to ask before. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So congratulations.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Also, False Niece has once commented on my bird comic before, and that's like the highlight of my career. Almost as good as selling a butt joke to government.
Yeah. So can we see your comic strip on the screen to appreciate
Can you?
it? Yes. Let's find out. Oh, yes. This was. I think this was my favorite. Not to brag that I noticed the winner, but yeah, I really like the dialogue between the parent and the child. So you know what inspired you for this comic?
Well, actually, I have been thinking about making a comic out of this subject for maybe a year, because I always observe the crows around our house, and they do this, and it's really funny, but I just didn't find out a good gag or punchline or something on how to enter comics, so it had been on my drawing board for a very long time, and when I saw the subject for this year's comic, I was like, okay, I have to figure this out, and then I solved it.
So it's a fact that the birds practice these
Yes, it's a fact.
calls.
They do this. Yeah.
Wow.
Of course, I don't know what they are saying. That's just my imagination. But they do practice the calls exactly like that every spring.
Yeah. So yeah, this was premeditated. Is that illegal in this competition to have a plan ready?
To have an idea, I don't think so. I mean, I hope not. Some of the comic strips really like bubble for a long time, even though the work itself can take a while, and reading is even faster. But some of our best work just keeps on boiling under the lid. Yeah, I think I constantly have a lot of stuff sort of boiling under the lid, and this I want to talk about, or this I want to draw about, but I'm just waiting for the perfect way or angle to do it.
Yeah. But you regularly post comic strips online.
Yeah, I do. Not about birds though. Mostly about minorities and minority issues. So a lot of my work is activism in some way, and I've chosen comics and comedy as my tools.
Yeah, these are like very current themes in comics. Also, our previous winners they have these themes close to heart. It's really nice to see people talking about real life in comics in this way.
Crows are real too, you know. They are also important. Okay, but yes, thank you.
So, can you tell us more about your comics and where to find them?
Well, if you Google Nina Mutik, my artist name, you'll find them. They are currently in Instagram, Patreon, and Facebook. I am searching for other platforms, but that's under work still.
So, would you call yourself a webcomic artist?
Well, I do books also. I love books. I love book design. So, but yeah, that's where mostly my work is, online in the web.
Yeah. It's is it community driven? Do you have a discussion with a fan base or peers and?
Well, not peers, but I sometimes discuss or join the discussions with my readers. But my readers discuss on my followers discuss the subjects.
Well, that's beautiful to give that kind of platform.
Yeah.
That's great. So it's my understanding that webcomics scene is quite prolific with people coming together.
Maybe. I'm not part of it in that way, I think. I just do this.
Yeah. So do you have any future comics projects under the way?
Well, I've been focusing on the webcomics a lot because that is somehow at the moment gaining audience, so it's good to put effort into that, and my Patreon is growing, so and it is a very good tool for activism.
So what kind of activism do you do? Well, you want to raise the topics and discussion?
Well, I'm part of several minorities, so I can just like talk about my life, like this is like actually happening, you know, like this is what discrimination means. But I always try to make it a fun, positive joke, because there's an announcement. Is it hearing on the podcast? Maybe? No? I'm confused. Okay, it's past. Fine.
Yes.
What was I saying?
Talking about the how your artwork is about your life.
Okay, yes. I always try to make it some sort of a positive joke, because I don't only want to do comics from minorities to minorities, because that doesn't actually create change. I want to make the world better, so I have to touch the majorities. So it has to be approachable, it has to be funny, it has to be lighthearted enough, so that the message goes where it needs to go and there's actual change. That's my opinion.
Wow, it's powerful that comics can do that.
Comics are very easily approachable, that's why I do them. I also do other forms of art, but it's a very good tool for activism, because comics are somehow inherently lighthearted and easy to approach.
So, as you said, to make the world a better place, so
Yeah.
how does that, what is the better place like if you want to paint a picture of a better future?
There's less fear and more acceptance. So I sort of, in most of my work, I try to lessen fear with some sort of compassion and understanding.
That's, yeah.
Through butt jokes. But you can do that. And it's great. Yeah.
So what kind of other artwork do you work on?
Visual arts and participatory art.
What is participatory art like? I'm
Mm,
curious.
Oh, okay. Like live action role playing, but in the art scene. Pretty much.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't call it LARPing in the art scene.
Oh, right.
You don't get funds. Yeah, so it's participatory art. But I do it very seriously. Yeah, fun and mostly for activism too. That's a great tool for that too, to understand the minority experience, to live through the story as the main character.
Yeah, and yeah, I think role playing and comics go hand in hand in many scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in Oulu as well, there's a LARP scene that are quite active in the cultural scene as well. You're from Helsinki, am I right?
Yeah, mostly. Yes.
Yes. So the participatory art happens in Helsinki, or do you travel for that?
Well, last piece I did with it, Vili von Nissinen has traveled the world a bit too. It's been done in Oslo and World Pride in Copenhagen and in Helsinki, and somewhere we are now running it Helsinki in a couple of weeks. You can come there. It's called Finding Tom, and it's about Tom of Finland's art's meaning in the freedom fight for gay men.
That sounds really interesting.
Welcome. We still have spots open.
Well, definitely going to look into it.
Yeah.
So, Joana, do you have any comments on or any questions with to Nina?
Yes, about your work actually. Do you when you I mean you said you make comics and you also make other art forms, do somehow they kind of intertwine in each other? Is there anything that you take from the performative part that you think you can apply into comics when you're making comics? Does this question make any sense?
Yeah, I actually have this dream, because it's always about storytelling, and when you create a story for participatory art, you sort of make a framework, and then the participants make it alive because they live it through, so they change it while they are doing it. So I have had this dream to take a story, make that framework, make those people sort of make it alive, and then make a comic about that.
Cool.
But I so far haven't got enough time or funds to do this. But I have this dream that once I could do this process.
So it's like a collective experience
Yes.
as well, right?
Yes, which I could interpret as a comic, or that could be the result or sort of documentation of the project. Yeah. So one day maybe. At the moment, not so much.
Okay. So when you say comic, you're talking about like a visual narrative. So you put people drawing and writing at the same time. When you're talking like you put people doing that experience, they participate, and then making a comic about it.
No, I would do the comic.
You. Oh, okay.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
fun. Okay. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, sort of document what they go through.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, and do you work alone on the comics, or do you have a team?
With comics, mostly alone.
Yeah.
Would not object the team if I like them. But so far, no.
Is it hard for you to work with other people, or
No.
you prefer to work by yourself?
No, I don't think we have a tradition of making comics together that much in Finland, maybe. I have done comics out of other people's scripts, though.
Okay.
Yeah, and I teach comics. That's kind of, yeah. But
Where do you teach comics?
through the Comics Center, you can just like order me
Cool.
to
Order
teach
you.
you. Yes.
The
Yeah.
Helsinki Comics Center.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh,
yeah, I'm one of their teachers. Yes. I'm the one they send to weird places. Like, we don't understand what these people want. Go there. Yeah.
It's a privilege.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Hi, Helsinki Comics Center.
Yeah. So, but where does your visual style come from? Do you?
In comics,
Yes.
I think I choose it based on the intended effect. So what I mainly do in my, it's intended to be easily approachable, easily readable, comfortable.
Yes. Oh. Yes. Well, we got a question from the audience.
Okay, cool.
This happens.
So is TikTok platform in the future as well? Platform as in a bigger audience and community.
Is this for me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I don't have TikTok. I've never opened it. It's the thing with videos, I understand. So I don't think comics work as videos very well, in my opinion. But then I'm a dinosaur, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I've actually thought about that.
Why not?
Yeah, how to make videos about comics.
My comics have been shared in TikTok. I know.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, because someone asked permission. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, you do you. But I don't think I will do that myself. Who knows? Maybe I'll hire up someone like a teenager who understands these things to handle my comics online. That would be great.
Maybe.
Yeah. But yeah. So you have also Patreon, right?
Yes.
So how does that work for you?
Well, I had to do some kind of platform for my readers to give me money because they were asking for it for years. Like, can we please support you? I love what you do. So I started with Patreon this year, and it's working out. It's slowly growing. Maybe it'll become a day job at some point. Who knows?
So yeah, people requesting sounds like a good reason.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
How can I give you money?
This is like a pro tip for comic artists. If people ask you, how can we give you money, just provide this. It helps with your career. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. But yeah, so yeah, but when you when you teach comics, right? So what kind of things do you go through with your pupils or students?
I mainly do very short courses from like an hour to 3 hours. So it's mostly just getting people to draw and to have the experience that I can do this, because anyone can do comics. It's like a universal media, like everyone can do it.
Quite in the spirit of this competition.
Yeah, everyone should do comics. So I sort of just try to support people and get them drawing and give them the experience that they can do this. And if they like it, they can do more of it, and where can they learn more? So I mostly just do fun, creative things with people and try to inspire them to do comics. And they do awesome stuff. Like people who have never drawn, like, do amazing things. Yeah. It's very enjoyable, actually, for me to see that. They feel like they have succeeded and they actually can do this and see their awesome stuff.
Do you have exhibitions for the coursework as well, or?
Yeah, the courses we did for Helsinki Comics Festival for kids, those became a part of the exhibition that was about a kids' book that got published this year. So some of them have been in an exhibition, yes.
Oh. That's really nice. So you also mentioned that you have some works in print, as books. So can you tell us more about the books?
Well, mostly no. It's in Etsy. It's only one book, which it's a really weird book because it's actually a 10-page Instagram comic people have been requesting as a print, but I made a book about it that works as a book. But it's used by health professionals that are therapists that work with youth and children. So I try to provide it so that they can use it in their work, and it went viral. It's a comic about childhood trauma and how to survive that and grow up, and a really positive and kind one. So I'm happy that it went viral, and I'm really happy that it's used to help children and youth from that background. So that like constantly sells a bit.
Wow,
for example.
That's yeah. I'm just trying to imagine the feeling of helping many people in that way.
Yeah,
with
I
comics.
feel my job is done. Like I can die happy. Pretty much. Like this is the most significant piece I've ever done. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So activism and like bringing people together and breaking down barriers, I suppose.
Yes, and talking about crows. I mean,
yes,
it's very
important. And bad jokes.
And bad jokes, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm getting a picture of your work.
Thank you. Yes, you are.
Yes. But any questions? Any more, Joana?
No, I'm just really curious to see. Actually, yeah.
Go read my stuff.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Nina Mutik, and congratulations again.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you.
So we have a comic strip world championship champion.
It's you.
Yay!
Thank you.
Okay. Can I leave now?
Yes, and you can find you can find Nina on Instagram and Patreon.
Yes, please do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's give her a round of applause. And thank you, Joana. And now, since we are in Rovaniemi, I would like to invite on stage Rosa, Rovaniemen sarjakuva seura. Yes.
Yes.
And so
So yes, my name is Ella Partanen, and I am one of the members of Rosa.
all right.
Yeah. I am here to talk with you.
Yeah, we're meeting for the first time. I wasn't sure. Okay, pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
I've followed Rosa's work for a few years.
Ah, that's very lovely.
Yes. Yeah, and you have a beautiful exhibition in the first floor here at the City Library.
Yes, it was. I feel like it was very huge thing for us, and everybody was very excited. And it took us many hours to get all of the pieces correctly in there, but we are very pleased and very proud.
Yeah. So the Rosa means the Rovaniemi Comics Association.
Yes.
Yes. And so are you mostly art students, or all of you?
All of us are students, and there are a few who are like they have graduated, but they still really like our work and they still want to be with us. But most of us, yes, we are students, and from University of Lapland mostly.
So you've come together around comics to form this association.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most of us really love comics, including myself, and one day some of us decided to make some kind of like a group, and then it's just been growing, and mostly we talk about comics and especially art and drawing, because most of us study some kind of art, graphic design, or whatever you can actually study in University of Lapland.
Yeah, and so have the members of Rosa, have you, how many are you?
Last time I actually checked, I believe we have at least 40. If I'm very correctly, maybe we have 33 at the moment.
That's quite many members.
I'm very surprised myself too. Yes.
So are the members mostly people who have a hobby of comics and drawing comics, or are people just interested to start drawing?
We have like both. Some people really love doing comics, and some people like to draw, but they are interested in comics. So we pretty much welcome anyone who love comics and you love to draw, and also if you are interested or you need some kind of art support or you need make more friends and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have participated together in the Cineton
yes.
Yeah, event.
Yes, we have, I believe, been part of it 2 times. For example, in this year, we just made a new Cine magazine, and it was quite a lot of pages. I believe it was 40 pages. It was a lot, and
in just a few days.
Yes. Yes, it was very interesting journey to actually do it.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just saw the printed work up there, and it's really great work.
Thank you.
Say.
Yeah, everybody puts a lot of time and love when making all of these. I believe in the first day, people who actually wanted to take a part of Cine, we all get around in the University of Library, and then everybody put some snacks and drinks, and we just made it together, and then the rest of the days everybody made it home, their own home. So yes.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
Yeah, it's very lovely.
So what kind of other projects do you do together or take part in?
That's a very good question, but I believe that mostly with, especially with Cine, but that's actually a very good question. I believe that mostly because we are a very young group and small group yet, so most of times when we decided what we want to do like together, that's like very kind of like a family meeting, like what do we want to do now? Like for example, at the moment we have been thinking about making another Cine, but we are not yet sure when it's going to happen. We kind of have a team, what kind of team we are going to do at the moment, but I will at least say this at the moment has been very big, huge for us, and we are very happy. Yeah.
And you will be joining the Oulu Comics Festival
Yes.
this weekend as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we are
and-
very excited.
Yeah. And so how is the comic scene in Rovaniemi? Is there any events or things beyond Rosa and your projects?
I believe not very much, unfortunately. Maybe someday when we get more out of the world in here, especially in Rovaniemi city, but not very much. So usually when we want to do something, Rosa wants to do something, then it's usually we decided to take action on, so for example in the cine or luckily in here too, but not in in Rovaniemi city, not very much yet, but hopefully someday.
Well, here we are at the
Yeah,
library.
here we are at the moment. Yeah, hopefully someday we can do even bigger things, because that's what we would love to do.
And frankly, 40 people in Rovaniemi sounds pretty big already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I hope so. I'm not from Rovaniemi, but I at least know that people who actually live in Rovaniemi, they have been very happy. And I am very proud of all of the people who have been here.
Yeah. So, what kind of comics do you personally do?
I personally do.
Yeah.
The interesting part is that I actually do some kind of little comics, but usually they are like sketches, usually. And I personally like to do like not animation but animatics, and I think about it like doing a comic, but I make it kind of short, kind of like a video, not in TikTok but in Instagram. But sometimes I have done few comics because I personally play D&D, especially World of Warcraft D&D in D&D campaign, and sometimes when inspiration comes, I like to make a short like comics, but especially if I have a lot of creative like visuals in my head, and I feel like I want to make something, but I'm not very good at writing.
Bring your imagination to life.
Yes, yes, because I'm not very good at writing. I'm more like illustration and making like bigger painting, but it's a comic in a way.
Yeah. I'm also very much into role-playing pen and paper games, and
Yes.
like illustrating the scenes you have together is really interesting to see
It's very
what other
interesting.
people have in their heads.
Yes, it's very interesting, and especially with there are a few people in Rosa who also like to do D&D and role play stuff. So that's another thing we like to do, comics about them, and we discussed about them, and yeah, it's a really really nice thing actually. You find very interesting people in there.
Yeah, to come together for the storytelling and appreciation for good writing and
Yes, comics and art and video games and pretty much anything, but mostly for drawing and comics.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yes.
Okay, and we have other people from Rosa here present as well, so really happy to see you finally, and really happy to be here in Rovaniemi. Mika, do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, so no further questions from the audience, but I think Raeisaene was still somewhere here. I guess Raeisaene is taking a break.
Sometimes you need it.
But do the other members of Rosa want to introduce themselves, or is this a too soon of a surprise to invite you?
They can try. You can do it.
Yes, I can. Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
And so you are Julia Niiranen.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, that's correct.
Yes. I'm sorry, it's the first time meeting. So, yes.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what kind of comics do you do?
I have been doing for this local magazine, Liminka. I have been doing for 7 years now the comic strips for this Northern Palsta Vasa.
Oh yes.
So that's what I'm been doing like regularly. But for my own enjoyment, I do this kind of zine kind of.
Yeah. You have been joining us with few
Yeah,
zines.
and short stories, so that they won't. They're not bigger stories, but I would love to do something like that in the future. But I'm still like scribbling a little bit, like little sketches, something like you are doing, kinda.
Yeah, little sketches. but
Yeah.
I believe your work is way more.
No, what? No. Oh, thanks. You're dear.
Yeah. So in the Lapinkansa newspaper, right? It's so it's comic strips.
Comic strips. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So did you enter the competition?
I did
to-
not.
Oh, okay.
I actually didn't have any time to like compete, but what an amazing competition, I must say.
Yeah. It comes quite fast. There's the working time of just 5 days.
Yeah,
exactly.
It came very fast,
Yeah.
especially because most of us are still students,
Indeed.
and some of us study and also do work. So time limit,
Yeah.
it's not our friend.
Exhausting.
Yeah, just another deadline to squeeze in.
Right.
Yes. So do we have visual on Raeisaene? Okay. Oh, he's gone.
He vanished.
He's left the building. Darn, I would have liked to meet him again, but maybe next time.
No.
Yeah. So I'm really happy to hear about Rosa's work, and especially to see it up there. Yeah. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
this opportunity.
Yes, thank you for the
Lovely.
invitation. It's been very lovely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks. And thank you for the audience here in the room. It's been a blast. And also to you people following from the comfort of your streams. And thank you to Mika and Harri for organizing this great event. And we are concluding the award ceremony. Thank you so much. Let's give a big hand to the participants and the winners. Kiitos.